Hi, my name is Joseph Alai, and I'm so excited that you're watching this right now. So I have a pretty good idea as to why you're here. You've been introduced to manifesting, or you've been practicing for a while, and you believe in its absolute power to change your reality. You've probably heard stories or have a big desire which you believe is possible to obtain through manifesting, or you're questioning if it is possible. And I'm here to tell you right now that if you master certain principles of manifesting, then you can absolutely get anything that you want. I've spent the last decade going through every resource humanly possible, testing systematically, keeping track and gathering data from thousands of people to essentially build a system of the essence or the principles of manifesting, so as to be able to invoke this power in a systematic, predictable, laser-targeted way. So I want to go over the two different ways to master manifesting, and one of them is much better than others. I used to be penniless, addicted, horribly depressed, without a home, had broken relationships, and my life seemed to spiral downward faster and faster day by day. No matter how hard I tried with my will, everything continuously snowballed and got worse and worse. In the beginning, when I found manifesting, I did find some tremendous results, but it was elusive. I could not figure out, and by the book of what people were saying, how to actually invoke this power in a predictable way. Now, one thing that kept me going was I applied the same addictive, obsessive nature that I did to my other aspects of life, which were failing miserably, to manifesting. And so over the years, and reading hundreds of books, studying dozens of teachers, sometimes for years at a time, the most popular teachers, I was able to boil down and find the essence of these teachings. And a couple of years back, I finally had a breakthrough. I was able to, through my studies, through data, and through testing this continuously sharpening my ideas and putting this to the test, to find a way to manifest in a very predictable, scientific, methodical, deliberate way. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. Through manifesting, I was able to completely transform my life. I could not save any money. I kept getting in trouble over and over. Anytime I would get my life back together, it would crumble in front of me. And yet, the first time I found manifesting, I found some truth and some power in it. Now, in the beginning, I was a complete and total failure. I was able to see very slight results sporadically over the course of a few months and years. But the entire time, I got very fortunate in the fact that when I first started, someone told me to keep track of everything, and me having that scientific mind and background, that made a lot of sense to me. See, I was completely rooted in this experience, this independent, fearful experience where I didn't know what was going to happen. But I had that background of testing and analysis. And so that's what I put forth. And I ensued with the obsession and a burning desire to master these techniques and put them in a predictable way. And so after years and years, so like I said, about a decade of studying dozens of teachers, reading hundreds of books, every time deliberately testing, keeping track of the results. And what I was able to do in the end was boil them down, and I found my breakthrough and the different fundamentals, which now allowed me to break out of that trouble or that fear or that addiction, that loneliness, despair, and depression, and break through into freedom, wealth, happiness, relationships, friendships, mastery over manifesting, and this whole world has taken on an entirely different meaning. And so, in summary, what I've done was I created a systematic way, removed a lot of the traditions and the abstract terminology, and boiled it down into applicable, everyday, deliberate usage. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. So there are 2 ways that I have found to master manifesting. And as I said, one is much better than the other. So the first way is to listen to scores of different teachers, to hear dozens of explanations as to how it works with buzzword mystical terminology, or red herrings as far as what you should be thinking about when you're doing it or what you need to do, and the tradition, which a lot of these fundamentals are littered with. And so what happens with that style is month after month, we go through listening to all these different people. We start putting all these different vague techniques and terminologies to the test, only to find in the end that either they don't work or they only work sometimes. But here's the thing, right? Manifesting sometimes, or knowing that it's going to happen sometimes, is not good enough. Manifesting should be something that is deliberate, specific, and 100% predictable. And so over the course, if this is the route taken, then it could take weeks, months, or years in order to get to where you want to be. And so the thing about that is that that was the route that I took. But that is the route that is extremely slow, painful, but in the end you do come out with a very solid belief and understanding of how it works. But again, that if I could start over now, that would not be the route that I would take. But the thing is that it's very difficult to know who it is that is truthful or accurate. And so the other way is better. And being that you're watching this now, I am sure that at some point in your life, you and I have had the exact same dilemma. Now, this dilemma is painful. It's horrible. It's confusing. We don't know what's coming next. We don't know if we're going to get what we want. This dilemma is entangled with things like good luck and bad luck. And this dilemma is powerlessness, right? So power, that is the dilemma. That is the thing from which causes the most catastrophic pain in the world. But the powerless over knowing what's going to happen next. The powerless over, are you going to get what you want? Hiding, expecting the worst, but hoping for the best. I'm sure at some point that powerlessness has driven you. And that is what probably brought you to the point where you are as far as manifesting, at least to some extent. And for me, powerless was the complete and total truth of my life. I had no power over anything. And in fact, I read somewhere in the statistics that the amount of power that we actually have over our life, even at the peak, and this is aside from manifesting, is about 10%. 10% of our life, and the other 90% is by chance or things that we just are completely out of our control. And so the solution to this problem, and this is what drew me to manifesting so deeply, is the power to control outcomes, the power to know what's going to happen, the power that no matter what is going on, no matter how stressful situations are in this life, knowing what is about to happen, knowing that all things are about to work out towards what you believe, or having the control over changing yourself and outcomes in life. And that is the power of manifesting. Controlling ourselves, controlling the external world, controlling the way that we think, act, and feel, controlling the way that people treat us, controlling events. That power is priceless, but that is the power that comes from systematically mastering manifesting. And so this is the second way to master manifesting. So the second way to master manifesting is through education, application, and analysis. You see, all manifesting takes place through the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is continuously, perfectly, and seamlessly weaving our reality together. It is, even while we sleep, while we are awake, the entire experience that we have comes through the source of our subconscious mind. Now, when we're born, there are very few things that exist as far as how the world works in our subconscious. And I've actually heard that there's only 2 main fears that exist when we're born, and that's the fear of being dropped, and that's the fear of loud noises. And so the rest of our fears, which are controlling this world, are all learned somehow, whether through experience or whether through someone teaching us. And here's the thing, that as soon as something exists, as soon as we perceive something on the external world, it is then alive in us, and it will continuously execute and manifest itself outward. And so until or unless we can change the contents of our subconscious mind to deliberately fit our desired outcomes, we will continuously experience the same thing over and over again. Now, there is a solution, and this is where manifesting comes into place. So there's something between our subconscious mind and the external world, and that thing is our awareness. Now, our awareness, anything that comes through the external world and enters our subconscious mind, must be first gone through our awareness. And our awareness consists of things like perception, our beliefs, memories, our imagination, expectations. Anything from the outside, before it hits the inside, must hit that filter. And so the amazing thing about humans and our capacity is that we can create fictitious versions of what we want to experience. And the beautiful thing is that the subconscious mind does not know the difference between the external world and our imagination. So this capacity to create novel ideas or solutions and impress them on the subconscious mind is the solution to creating and manifesting anything in our world. And so there's a systematic, deliberate way to specifically do this in order to get whatever you want. And that is where the craft and art of manifesting comes into play. So again, imagine that no matter what circumstance you're in, you know exactly how to get out of it. Imagine that no matter what's going on, you can predict the outcome because you've set it into motion. Imagine that no matter what, you have full and total confidence in your ability to get what you want. And imagine that no matter what anyone tells you, no matter if people say you're wrong or you're doing this wrong or that wrong or you need to do this, you know by your own proof, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that you are 100% certain in your ability to specifically target manifestations every single time. So once you've laid down the all-important fundamental foundations on how to manifest anything you desire without the shadow of a doubt or any doubt whatsoever by a systematic and deliberate system, then every other subsequent layer, such as revision, affirmations, assumptions, manifesting for other people, it becomes incredibly and increasingly easy because of the knowledge beforehand. And everything else that you manifest will be increasingly easy and simple and fast to come about in this external world because your subconscious mind will already be trained to listen for your commands. You're gonna have a radical change of relationship between you and the external world because you'll realize and understand how to change the projector and then therefore change the projection. And so you may think that you don't have it in you. You may be asking, can I do this? Do I have the power? Is there something special about Joseph that he gets everything he wants? Or you may think that you're not smart enough or that you just don't have the capacity to believe or imagine. Well, here's the thing. Even me, as I mentioned earlier, I was a miserable failure at manifesting. I had no imagination. I failed continuously on a regular basis. And it took me years through a systematic way to get to where I am now. But the amazing thing is that I got there. And the people that I've been teaching and coaching and emailing over the past years have fundamentally changed their lives, right? And even me, as I said, I was an abysmal failure at life. I mean, I literally went from a a drug addict living in the Salvation Army to someone who has a business, successful, free, happiness, wealth, health, and love, and in literally no time at all. Now, before that time, when I was in that situation, I had been practicing but had not broken through. But after I had gotten out, I finally broke through to find the systematic way. And that's the key. It's just to find a system that actually works, so you don't have to continuously question, is this right? Is what this person's saying right? Well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to say, I am, or I will, or I intend? All those questions are valid questions, but what I'm telling you is that the way in which I have learned that manifesting works, and by the way, it's foolproof, right? The system that I've basically extracted from all the teachers of old, right? Now, manifesting is not something just of the mystics of old. It's not something of science of new. It's the essence of everything itself. And so finding a way to systemize this makes it an extremely predictable system. And as I said, there are so many teachers. There's so many teachers, so many teachings, so many techniques, so many fundamental ideas. And the thing is it's like, who am I supposed to believe? Who am I supposed to trust? And here's the thing, right? Out of all of those different teachers, there is an essence to every single one of them, right? A lot of what they say is true and works sometimes, but as I said, sometimes with manifesting is not good enough. And so what I've done, because of my obsessive nature of needing to understand things and systemize things, and because of the situation that I was in, I needed to find a way that worked perfectly, a way that was guaranteed to understand and prove and believe that I know that I'm doing the right thing in order to get what I want. And that is what I think we all want. We want to be able to say, I know this for a fact, there's nothing that can sway me, and it works every single time. So there's absolutely no question. There's definitely a time investment it takes to essentially dedicate to mastering these fundamentals, to apply the education, application, and analysis of the techniques. It's time well spent. And in fact, to not use this, the time is much greater, and the cost itself could be much greater. To go from technique to teaching, to technique to teaching, to scatter around and have no idea what worked, if it worked, and why it didn't work. And so I am going to give you later this week the second part to this free series of the fundamentals of manifesting, and explain in depth more on exactly the system that I use and that I teach everyone that gets tremendous results. Now, like I said, I've had tens of thousands of people write into me explaining how deliberate and specific and predictable these can be. And if you've been watching my videos, then you've been testing this, then you already know. And so just stay tuned for the video in the future, and I want to hear your feedback on this. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I am so excited for the next video. So definitely stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.